Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here. Oh my goodness. I just did the whole live stream and I realized there was no sound. Thank you guys for posting that. I started seeing the comments saying no sound, and I looked and I had unplugged my mic. And so thank you guys. I was talking Bitcoin. I was talking smack about all of you guys, and you didn't even get to hear it. It's very unfortunate. But here we go. Let's start this again from the top. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being here today. We are going to cover quite a bit today. I'm going to be talking Bitcoin. I'm going to be talking Litecoin as the halving approaches. We will still be talking about your dead, down and out alts, taking a look at some of those charts, of course. And we'll also be talking the stock market. We'll be looking at some of the wild activity. It's been a fun couple of days for the stock market. It's been very volatile, very exciting. I've been doing some trading there. I thought I was done this morning, and I had average day in the morning. It was a pretty good day, but then I went for some breakfast, went to the gym, came back, Trump tweets, and then all hell broke loose. So I was like, I got to start trading again. And so I ended up trading for the rest of the day. Just got done, scarfed down some lunch, and here I am doing this live stream with us. So we'll take a look at that, and of course we'll look at the charts here and get going here. So I apologize for the radio silence in the first segment of this. Thanks for posting the comments and letting me know. All right, let's get to it. Looking at the coin market cap here again. I was talking about the BTC dominance. It's been edging up again here recently. We did have that run up from April to early July, basically going to that 66-67% range, and then it started to trickle down a little bit as BTC pulled off from the highs near 14K. Some alts gained ground, but not a whole lot. It pretty much just sat tight, and here we are starting to rally up again, seeing a little bit of dominance climb, and it's just been the case, man. Alts just get no reprieve. They were looking like some of these were ready to break out, form some lows, and then as soon as Bitcoin starts to rally again, just sucks the life out of some of these alts. So we'll just have to wait until they get their turn again. But for now, it's still the Bitcoin show. A lot of movement into that area. The one altcoin that I am looking at right now and actually have an open trade on is Litecoin. That's going to be in play, I think, over the next couple of days going into the halving. I don't think we're going to see the rocket ship, but I think we could see a little bit of a pump into that event. We've already seen the halving being priced in my opinion. That was the rally we saw a couple of months back, and obviously that is well off the highs, but we'll take a look at that. So let's get to it. So without further ado, looking at Bitcoin here, I'm going to zoom out. The couple of things I want to point out here. Let me go to the daily chart first. So the daily chart had that little double top that was working out once we peaked around 13K the second time and had a pretty good sell-off. We saw this 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago now, right in the middle of July here. Found some support just above 9K. Then, of course, we saw the rally right to 11K and just really started to sell off over the last week or so and into the weekend. We found a low, and here we are forming a little bit of a double bottom now, retesting that low, making a little bit of a higher low there. So things are looking positive. Volume hasn't been tremendous yet, but I've been trading this on the way up now that we found a little bit of support. And if we zoom in here, there was a few levels that I was watching. There's just been these clear resistance zones. Going back here, 11K was really a very clear level that we rejected from, pulled back, and then below that, I mentioned last week, 10,200 was the number to be watching on the way up over the weekend. That never happened, pulled right back down, and of course, we never violated the low. There was a wick low that I was looking at, and it just barely undercut that. Let me see if I can find my line tool here. So we had this big bullish engulfing candle that formed a big wick low right around 92.50. And this is on Binance, by the way. And we had this wick low that just barely undercut that, was bought back up. And then it was a very choppy sideways weekend. I pretty much didn't trade it, but I was looking at this $9,700 level and saying, okay, that's really the next level to be watching on the way up. That's really the wall that we were seeing over the weekend. Had some support here, a wick there, a wick there, a wick there. Things were starting to get going and finally was cracking through. So once we made that first crack through, I took a little bit of a swing. My first target was that 10K. I scaled out into 10K, basically banked that quick trade up. And then over the last day or so, as I posted to the Slack group, I want to see a little bit of a pullback, maybe to the 10 EMA on that 4-hour chart. We got that here. Things started to bounce. I was watching this. So now I'm back into Bitcoin here as it's starting to edge higher, and it's breaking out. And it's also breaking above that 10,200 level, which is good to see. So it is clearing that resistance. And this is ideal price action. So what ended up happening is you have this resistance level multiple times. We rejected from that, finally cleared 9,700, rallied right to that resistance, paused a little bit, small retreat, held the moving averages, and then volume starts kicking in as things move up. So good price action all around. Next target on the way up around 10.6, and then upper 10s as we start to test that 11K mark. So, you know, that's a couple of levels to go on the way up, but I'm just going to trail it here. I'm still just trading this at the moment because the daily chart hasn't really confirmed, you know, that it's done for sure. 11K would really be the big number to confirm that, breaking over 11K. But for now, I'm going to just ride this little momentum on the way up, take some trades here, and that's really it. Now, it's interesting to note, and Michael, if you're listening, I think it's going to work. I was pointing this out. So some of you guys know about the BMI index, and let me see if I can pull this chart up real quick for you guys. And I'm kind of going off script. Not that I usually have scripts, but I'm going off script here and on a little tangent and holding. Here we go. Let's look at BTC. So the BMI index is a proprietary indicator that I developed here. That's this red and white. It's basically an oscillator. It goes between 0 and 100. And I've developed some strategies around here, a little bit of a automated strategy that gives you buy, sell signals, all that good stuff. And you know, it's been pretty good here. There, you know, the sell signals aren't posted on my indicator here, but essentially I've taken this, and you can get access to the readings here on the Node Insiders. People get that. All right, Michael's in the house. And so you can get access to this. Every altcoin also has a BMI value. So we use that to generate this automated watch list. But anyway, I say all that to say this, based on that strategy, you know, it's issued some pretty good buy and sell signals here. The first buy signal that it issued in 2019 was right here on March 29th. Caught the move right before the breakout. It issued a couple of buy signals there. One here. It actually issued a sell signal here. Last buy signal was right here. Caught that last move up, and we haven't seen anything since. But yesterday was the first buy signal that we've seen in quite some time. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Right now, it's highlighting that, hey, this was the signal. Michael, as I pointed out, said, I think it's going to work. It said buy. It means go all in on 10,000 leverage. Oh, don't do that. Please don't do that. But so we'll see how that plays out. But that was a nice little buy signal. It's good for a little bit of a swing on the way up for now. We'll see how that translates to. And it's got a pretty good win rate and can knock out some good swings. So anyway, thought I'd point that out. So we're seeing the price action rally up here. So for now, volume's coming in. You know, some of this also kicked in right when the whole stock market started to crash. The US dollar tanked, gold started to rally. And I noticed that Bitcoin did have a pretty good move that corresponded with the timing of some of that action. So it's interesting to see that. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, Trump tweeted earlier about some continuation to the tariffs, you know, in China, 10% addition, all that good stuff. And initially, I mean, immediately there was this crazy reaction. And, you know, not to be outdone by the reaction that Powell had yesterday. He said, I'm going to do it too, but I'm going to do it bigger than you. So now this is Powell after the FOMC meeting. And then this is Trump after tweeting about the tariffs. And, you know, everything was going fine. It was actually a surprisingly strong day in the stock market. We had a big sell-off, rallied into the close, another pullback, and then opened this morning, just was straight up right back to yesterday's highs. And then things were kind of flattening out, and then the tweet came out and smack, dump it. But nonetheless, you know, if you're trading, it's made for some exciting action. I mean, the size of the moves here, just to put it into perspective, I mean, the size of the moves that we saw here today, I mean, this is like what you would see probably in a week or two. I mean, it was just incredible, the size of the move that we've seen here recently. You know, looking back at some of the same type of volatility that we were looking at, you know, last quarter, you know, Q4 of last year when things were just moving crazy. But yeah, just a big move here today. Undid the last 4 weeks of price action, and just has been a wild couple of days in the stock markets. We'll look at a few of those stocks here, but let me finish up the Bitcoin talk real quick. So let's go back to BTC here. Just look at some of the levels as we head into the weekend. I am long at the moment. Bitcoin. Don't want to look at the 5-minute chart. Let's go back to the 4-hour charts. As I mentioned here, 10.6-ish is really the next target. And then 11K, that's going to be a significant level because you can see this was a support zone for quite some time that ultimately gave way. And, you know, we saw a pretty good drop to that. And then on the way up, it's been a little bit of a resistance level. And so we want to see how price reacts if it even gets that high, of course, right? There's no guarantee it's going to bounce that high, but that's the next major target, the next major resistance. 10, you know, there's just a bunch of levels along the way up, 9,700, 10.2, that's all been cleared. And so as long as price continues to hold above that 10.1, 10.2 level, this is going to be in play for another leg up. Now on the 4-hour chart, the RSI is starting to get up there a little bit, so just make note of that. You could see a quick spike, but if it just goes straight up, by the time it gets to 11K, that RSI is going to be really extended, and so I would be a lot more cautious about getting a breakout at that point. What would likely happen is you would get your typical action where it rallies, maybe you get a profit-taking retreat, some sort of thing, and then we'll go from there. If it just sits tight and starts to consolidate, then there's a good chance you'll get a breakout over that 11K. And so those are the next major levels that I'm watching on the way up, 10, 6, 10, and 11. On the way down, of course, that 10K level, which has been the epic battle here recently, over 10K, under 10K, over 10K, back and forth. But basically 10K, of course, and then major support right around that recent low we saw here during the chop last weekend. Just call it 9,300, basically in and around there. And then below that, the swing low that we saw at 9K. So those are the major levels on the way down. But all in all, things are looking positive. The daily chart has clearly been reset in terms of overbought conditions. You can see this RSI has really pulled back, and it held the 40, interestingly enough. If you have taken the RSI course here, you'll understand kind of the bull and bear zones that I talk about. And, you know, on a bullish trend, and this is the ABCs of RSI video course, on a bullish trend, the 40 level is a significant level in terms of where the RSI tends to bottom out if the trend's going to continue. And so far, it's held that twice. MACD is also crossing over bullish. You've seen the histogram finally turning green. And so things are looking positive. I'd like to see a lot more volume come in. You know, it's not bad, but it's not like really strong breakout type of volume. But this is a first good step in turning the corner. It's not out of the woods yet, but it's certainly starting to edge out above these multiple levels of resistance. And it's been a pretty good little swing. I mean, keep in mind, from the lows of this weekend, price has already moved up about 11%. So that's significant for something with as big of a market cap as Bitcoin. Let's go take a look at Litecoin here. So looking at LTC, I'm going to go to Litecoin dollar here first. Litecoin dollar is looking pretty good. There has been a breakout above this downtrend line. Let me clear all this so I can start fresh with you guys here. And we saw that move yesterday. It was a nice break above this downtrend. That was your early signal. So if you were looking to make an early entry, it was basically right here as it started to edge out over that $92 mark. And then it rallied right to resistance, which was around 96, pulled back, popped yesterday. As I pointed out, for those of you guys that are in the private channel on the Slack group here, I said look for a pullback to 96, between 96 and 94. We saw that. I took a position there and starting to edge higher here. We'll see. This is really just a play on the whole halving thing coming up here, which is a couple of days away. The next target's on the way up. First is around that 105 level, 105, 106, and then kind of going into this range here. I don't think it gets that high before the halving personally, but hey, if it does, I'll take it. I don't think it's going to get there. So we'll see how it happens. And of course, the interesting thing is going to be what happens after the halving, right? Is there your typical reaction dump before, before the events, sell the news type of thing. We've kind of already seen some of that, right? If you zoom out, Litecoin has had a tremendous rally this year starting in December. It was at $25 and it went all the way to 140 before the epic sell-off that we saw drop down to 75 bucks. So we've already seen, in my opinion, the halving being priced in and the selling the news and selling the Bitcoin top, all that good stuff. And so I think this is just a little bit of a bounce personally into that event. Now, how am I playing this? I'm looking at some fib retracement levels in terms of how high this guy could go. If you start with this impulse leg and you go down, there's the 382 and the 618 puts you right around 106. If you measure it from the exact top to the bottom of that pullback, which is a little bit more of an aggressive approach in my opinion there, then you're looking at a bigger of a bounce, right? We're right at 382. 50% puts you right around 109, and then the 618 puts you right around 117. And so there's a couple of ways to assess which way the targets are going to be. I generally like to go off of support and resistance levels, which in this case would be here and here, and they do happen to align pretty well with with some of these fib levels. So we'll see how that one plays out, but that's going to really be the the alt in play for me this weekend here as we head into the weekend. Obviously Bitcoin's going to be in play too, so we'll see how that let's see here. Jarrell, you said you sent me an insider with okay, I'll take a look at that. Sorry about if I missed a message on Twitter DMs. I still get a lot of spam, so some things can get lost. All right, let's get to it here. So what do I think about ETH BTC future on BitMEX longs now? The BitMEX longs, let's go look at that here. So I mean, if you're going to trade with leverage, it's a little bit different. I think ETH BTC was looking like it was trying to bottom out and it failed. So that's what I was looking at this week here. It was setting up, but it was still below this blue line, which is the resistance level I was watching. And had it broken above, this would have really been a good signal for potentially some alt rallies versus Bitcoin. And I was really hoping that ETH BTC would have broken out. Litecoin was also setting up very similar, and I'll come back to BTC to ETH here. Litecoin was also doing something similar, and that one did break out a little bit, but then it retreated, right? And so versus Bitcoin, it's not really outperforming, unfortunately, but it's holding up a little bit better than most just because the US dollar side is a little bit stronger. But even Litecoin versus Bitcoin is starting to lag a little bit, and that's really the case for most alts here. If you go back to the ETH BTC chart, they're just, every time Bitcoin rallies, they get the smackdown, and I was liking to see this breakout. That would have really bode well for the alts, but that was a failure in my opinion, and it just was a clear rejection. Now that it's outside of this range, just looks like it wants to drop lower. It's most likely going to break below the support, or it looks like it's already doing that here. So there is a big wick here. Not sure that's going to be much personally, because this is multiple attempts at holding the line, and it's starting to roll over and break that. So no love for the alts just yet. Well, I love the alts, but the market doesn't love the alts. You guys don't love the alts anymore. But looking at the dollar pair, right, ETH USD here, a little bit of a bear pennant forming. It could break higher, but traditionally these tend to break to the downside right after a pullback. You get this chop and then a little bit of a break lower. So something to note there. We'll see above, call it 225, things start to look a lot better. Then you can run to 237, and then above that around 260. So we'll see where they go. But man, some of those alts are really, really oversold versus Bitcoin. But haven't we been saying that for so long now? I mean, that's just been the case. And until a clear bottom is in, it's just guesswork. It's catching the falling knife. There's bounces to be made, but clearly not in an uptrend versus Bitcoin. Are alts dead? Is it over? Is it? Have we seen the heydays? All right, let's go look at some of these other names here. So we covered Bitcoin, we covered Litecoin. I briefly talked stocks. Let me get that out of the way, and then we'll come right back to the crypto fun stuff here. But some of the stocks here, let's go back to, I'll do the Qs here. And so if you missed the fun, the market had a nice sell-off today and yesterday. Yesterday was on the back of the Fed. And, it was interesting because I was trading. Generally, I trade the Fed day. So, I traded the open, and then I just stopped here, and I basically did nothing until the FOMC notes were released. And initially, there wasn't a whole lot of action, right? It was like quick pull and then bounce back, and just most everything I was trading, and I generally will trade gold via the nugget or the dust. I made a little on it, but it wasn't the big move that I was looking for. And then Chairman Powell started speaking, and then it was smackdown. And during his entire conference, the market went from being up to like down 400 on the Dow, and it was just crazy. I mean, Apple got smacked. Gold got smacked. It was just, or the gold popped. I mean, it was just crazy. And then we rallied, and then we sold off into the close. And then today, it was kind of like shake off that news right out of the gate, just boom, straight up, took out the FOMC highs and just kept going, making new highs. Apple was really strong. Facebook was strong. There was just so many names that were strong. And then the market got quiet. And then, of course, Trump tweeted, and it was the epic smackdown after that. It was just crazy how fast it came down here. And yeah, imagine, I wonder about that if some of these insiders have access to that information first. Clearly, though, this news was unexpected. I mean, the market was so strong, was sitting tight, and it was just like the bottom fell out. If you go to the 1-minute charts, it was just crazy how fast it happened. And luckily, I was out of a trade. I was pretty much flat. I thought I was done for the day. I had traded SunPower. Let me pull that one up here. And, it was a nice little trade at the open. So I caught this rally, and then it was kind of sitting tight. And I was actually looking at SunPower for a potential breakout trade into the close of the day. We tend to do that. They tend to have that run, and then they kind of sit tight and pop. And I was watching it. I was thinking, no, this might be one to watch. And then out of nowhere, I started seeing this thing get dumped, and then the NASDAQ gets dumped. And I'm like, okay, what happened? And generally when that happens, the first thing I do is I go check Trump's tweets. And sure enough, it was the whole China thing. And that's what it was. And so after that, I was like, it was one of those shoot first, ask questions later. And, generally the China news has been impacting a lot of the chip stocks. And so I immediately went short AMD. I went short Apple. I covered way too soon. I saw this little bounce, and I thought, maybe we'll get a quick spike down. And I covered most of my AMD like right around here. It was kind of disappointing to watch it drop and hit the low of the day and just keep going. Apple, same thing, just got relentlessly sold. I mean, there was very little bounce on the way down. And then I saw this oversold, and this was actually a better trade for me. I caught Apple on the bounce on the way up. So needless to say, it made for some good trading. But look at Alibaba. Alibaba got destroyed on the way down. It went from $175, down to $162 in no time. And most stocks, right, were in that same boat. You look at Walmart, got crushed, and so forth. You get the idea. But some of the other things that did well, right? So if we look at the GDX, this is the gold stocks index here. This started to move. It has started to move since yesterday after the whole FOMC stuff here. Keep doing that here. Hold on. Let me get this guy here. And it's been very volatile. It was actually selling off here today, and then started seeing that thing pop again once that news came out. One of the ways I like to play the gold stocks, and this is intraday trading. I don't recommend holding these per se, but there are these vehicles, the Nugget and the Dust. So if you want to go long the gold stocks, the Nugget was up about 21% after that, on the day here. So very nice move on the day. The inverse of that is the Dust, and that's where you can go short on that bad boy here. So that's what I'm looking at there. And so that's the stock market. It's been pretty wild. It's been definitely not boring. It's definitely not boring. And Bitcoin has been boring compared to the stocks in the last 2 days, which is weird. But needless to say, it'll be interesting to see where things go. I have no idea when it comes to like the long-term view of stocks. I just make no attempt to say, here's where I think the SPY is going to be in a month or next year. Who knows? And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, just because I'm mostly just trading in the morning for a little bit and then going long or short. So I don't really care which way it goes, as long as it's not just boring and flat. Anyway, back to Bitcoin. So let's go back to the BTC stuff here, which most of you guys care about. So Bitcoin, let's see here. Bitcoin for $10,463 and looking okay. Looking good. How's the volume? Volume's not bad. A little extended. The 10 EMA is still down here at the 10K. Let's go to the 1 hour chart real quick. 1 hour chart. Wow, look at that volume. RSI on the 1 hour is now pushing 83. Nice little spike it's had, though. Man, that's been a good little run. It just depends on your strategy. If I know a lot of you guys on the Slack group will trade with leverage and take the scalps. When you get a move like that, you definitely want to start protecting some of the profits. If you're taking a longer approach, if you're looking at, you know, the 4 hour chart, it looks just fine. Plenty of room to go. RSI, as I mentioned, is a little bit up there, but could certainly continue higher, as we know. And then on the daily chart, has plenty of room to run on the daily chart, but obviously you got to give this one a lot more room, right? As long as it holds this double bottom, things are looking okay. And so it just depends on your time frame and your strategy. And, you know, the bet we have going on, man, looks like I was close. I was within a penny. But it expires on, what is it, August 7th? So, I don't think we're going to see 12K by August 7th. So it's just going to be a null and void. All right, let me see here. Pulling some stuff up here on my other screen, see what else we want to look at. What names do you guys want to see? I've covered most of the stuff I wanted to look at. We'll definitely take a look at some of the watch lists here. There's not a whole lot on the watch list. It's mostly USD pairs and Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, Litecoin, BNB, man, that's it. Slim pickings out there. Let's see what's on the alert system here. Oversold, 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 oversold. Nothing's moving. EOS, yeah, we'll look at EOS. That was one I was liking yesterday. I like the setup, especially from the USD side. I took a trade in that. It looked like it was breaking out, pulled right back. I'm not sure. We'll take a look at that one here. I was looking at AUNT and NEO. We'll look at those two. What else? Matic, okay. Beyond Meat to the 2017 bubble. Oh man, Beyond Meat has been insane. Beyond Meat, I traded that one yesterday too, and I missed it today, and I called it. I was talking to one of the guys that I talk with on one of the stock chat boards here. Let's go look at Beyond Meat, and then I'll come back to the names you guys want to look at here. Sorry about my messy charts here. Beyond, yep. You know, it's always interesting to see how these play out. Beyond has just been selling off. Today they did a secondary offering, so it was just due to get crushed. You know, it had earnings a couple days back, got crushed on earnings, but it had a nice counter trend rally, so I traded it here. Took a little scalp on it yesterday, didn't do a whole lot, and then today they did that secondary, and it just got crushed. It's just crazy overvalued. But I saw this little setup here on the 1 minute chart. It's kind of hard to see, but it was starting to really coil up. And then it popped, and really the target was just, you know, the high of the day. I mean, and it hit that almost to the penny before pulling back. And then, of course, the Trump tweet came out, and that accelerated a little bit of the selling pressure. But this one's a tough one. I mean, it's been a crazy IPO. Go to the daily chart here. Since the debut here, I mean, Beyond Meat just basically went from, you know, $40 to $230 in about a month and a half or 2 months, basically. Just insane move for a stock, but has since been retreating. So we'll see where that ends up. I'm definitely not a long-term holder in something like that, guy. Oh, let's see here. All right, let me go to the list here. Let's take a look at some of these names. So we'll start with EOS. I'm going to go to EOS dollar first, actually. Show you guys what I was liking. And then, yeah, we'll do another Bitcoin summary. I've done, did one at the beginning, did another one just a little bit ago. We'll definitely come back to that here. So I was liking EOS here. Not looking at the 5 minutes, sorry about that. And so this is where I was watching this yesterday. This yellow line here that you can see on the chart, that was a nice breakout point. That's basically $4.36, 37 cents. It had push right through that yesterday, pulled back. I wanted to give it to around 28 cents, which was right here. And then, of course, it got stopped out, but then we saw the big smackdown. We're seeing a little bit of a bounce right now. It's looking good. Volume's coming back in. But, you know, that was a failed breakout attempt. So I'm going to keep waiting for a clear over this line, ideally, you know, 437 to 440. If it can break through that and start to hold above that, then I will want to see 466 as kind of your next big target here. And then above that, looking at, you know, 480, 490, kind of in that range here. And so that's what I'm looking at. But for now, I'm going to wait. It's been in a very choppy range here in the low $4 range for quite some time. So I'm just going to wait for this thing to really convince me that it's ready to rock. It tried yesterday. It was looking good, but it just didn't follow through. So I'm going to wait. I'll give it one more try if it does, and we'll go from there. EOS BTC, it's not going to be pretty, of course. I mean, it's the BTC pairs. Are any of them pretty? You know, and this one's looking like it just broke some support here. I've been watching this downtrend line here for the last, you know, recent time. This is the 1 hour chart. I was watching for this, and I was thinking if it can start to break above that and break out on the BTC pair, that'd be a nice, you know, confluence of breakouts on both charts. It didn't. Rolling over here on the BTC pair as Bitcoin continues to rally, and it's also breaking this breakout point, right, that I have highlighted. This is the breakout point back on July 24th. Rallied versus Bitcoin, has just kind of been grinding down since, and looks like it's finally cracking on the downside. A little bit oversold on the 1 hour chart, on the 4 hour chart, also a little bit oversold. And so we'll see what happens. A lot of times these can turn into nice little shakeouts. And so what I mean by that is it looks like it's holding support and then it cracks. But if it can quickly recover and then start breaking out, usually that's a nice little shakeout. It shakes out a little bit of the last holders. And that can often turn into a nice little move up. So I'll still be keeping an eye on it. My Q will mostly be looking at it from the USD side, though. All right, Ontology. Ontology BTC, looking like most alts, a little bit of red on the last several 4 hour candles. If you look at it from the dollar pair, I was liking this one also for a potential setup. On the 1 hour chart was looking really good. Didn't confirm on the 4 hour, though. I wanted to see it take out some of this resistance here, and then on the very short-term time frame, right, the last couple of days of chop, I wanted to see it break out above that. So you're looking at around, what is that? Basically a dollar, call it a dollar and a penny. That's what I was looking for on a breakout move, and then I was going to look for a 10% swing or so on the way up, but hasn't happened yet. It's still holding up from a support perspective, but obviously the BTC pair is not looking very pretty, and so still choppy, still range bound. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see if it could finally break out. It was looking good yesterday, just never followed through. Neo is another similar one here that I was watching for a breakout. Also a little choppy, a little range bound here, but still looking pretty good. It will confirm if it can start to close above 1220. So that's really the level that I'm watching on Neo, but you know, an early entry for me would be kind of getting it above that 1280 level or so. If it can start to hold above that, then I may look at that. And the way I would do that is I'd probably just put a really tight stop, you know, just below the swing low. It's like a 2, maybe 3% stop, and then see if it could clear that 1220 level on the way up here. Now, Neo BTC, not pretty, rolling over again, failed. Let me extend this line. This was the breakout point, was looking like it wanted to here yesterday, and it just rolling over, rejected. I mean, almost exactly rejected right at that line there. And that was a resistance point that just has been resistance here for a couple of days now. This is the 4 hour view, mind you. So this is going back to July 21st. And so really retreating right now, pulling back. What else? Let's go look at Bitcoin real quick here. Bitcoin is having a nice little move here. Popping. 1 hour view looks great. Nice little breakout over that consolidation that we saw around 10K. Looking like it's following through. Good breakout over that 10.2 level, which is important. Probably getting a little bit of a chase move here. Some people, the breakout buyers are coming in. Maybe some shorts covering some stops. So that's a good little win for the bulls there. All right. And let's see here. Matic. Somebody asked for Matic. Let me zoom out here. Matic BTC. Not too impressive there. Let's look at Matic dollar. Man, Matic is just being on. It had that huge rally, you know, that initial rally. This was one of the bigger ones, and then of course Harmony and some of the other ones came out. But you know, just it topped and just kind of consolidated. It could have easily just broken out, but it didn't. It failed right there around that. What is that? 27 cents, and has just been the grind down since. I mean, here we are approaching 10 cents, so it's already down quite a bit from that. And there's, you know, the daily chart. You know, there's nothing bullish about this one yet. It's not even really extremely oversold on the RSI. It's just the rallies have been contained at these moving averages. Drops another, makes a new lower low, rallies, and so far lower lows. I'm not bullish on this until the trend turns. Let's see here. Okay. XTZ, yeah, XTZ is one of those with the recent listing on Coinbase. I know that helped. I know they had some legal things based on the comment. Sounds like they might be actually winning that, so that's nice to hear. It's not a project I follow a whole lot, but from a chart perspective, definitely looking nice here. You had a breakout versus Bitcoin, and this was a nice consolidation. Actually, the level to be watching was right here a couple days ago. This was the listing. The Coinbase listing news popped, and it didn't really fade. Generally, lately at least, Coinbase hasn't really been that exciting from a new listing perspective. You know, this one's not one that's, you know, widely on exchanges, right? It's not on Binance or anything. So that was a big move for them, and you know, it's still following through. So looking pretty good. What else we got here? Link. I was watching Link BTC here. It broke support here. We've been watching this, you know, and technically was a little bit of a descending triangle, and it looks like it's finally chopping below that support. And again, same approach. If it breaks and quickly recovers, that might be good. But at this point, until it gets back above here, nothing to do. It was definitely one I was watching for the last few days, just as it was decision time, right? The resistance and the support were getting squeezed, and it was like it's going to move one way or the other here. Started to roll over there, so not looking too good there. Link dollar, you know, same thing. Let me go to the Binance chart. I basically have had a downtrend line drawn on the Link one, and until it clears that, that's what I'm watching here. And so you can see how, I mean, how clear that that trend line has been in terms of a resistance level. Hit it there, hit it there, hit it there. So just continues to be in play. First step would be getting back above that trend line. I'll be turning the corner there. All right, let's see what else we got. And there's not a whole lot else going on in terms of altcoin land these days. Let me see if there's been anything on the move here. I don't think there has been, other than USD pairs, but that's mostly because of Bitcoin here. NAV, oh my goodness, there's a name from yesteryear. NAV. It's a bunch of small cap stuff mostly. Oh, BNB. We never looked at BNB. Nobody cares about Binance Coin anymore? Come on, guys. BNB is actually holding up all right. It's been a nice little bit of a uptrend here for, you know, the last day or so. How's it look on the BTC chart? Yep. Didn't break out and actually started to lose the rising trend line here. And this is another one that was at decision time, kind of like how Ripple was. We'll look at XRP here shortly, but this was a nice little wedge up, but just couldn't break above resistance. It dropped the line here, and that was really your first kind of uh-oh, and has just been dropping since. So not a whole lot from a BTC perspective, but BNB dollar, I mean, I guess it depends on how you trade it, what's more important to you if you're looking to gain dollar value or BTC value. But it has found a little bit of a low. It's breaking this recent downtrend on the dollar pair. So from that perspective, looking a little bit more positive. From the BTC pair, not so hot. Not so hot. Just don't look at them without their makeup on. They still look good. All right, let's do a few more here. What was the other one that I wanted to show you guys? Oh, NAV. Let's go look at NAV. What's up with that? NAV. Small cap, micro volume names. I have no idea who's who or what's pumping this, but there you go. I mean, it looks big when you zoom in and then you go to the daily chart and it's like, it's a ripple. Nothing. All right, let's go to XRP. XRP was another one that was wedging and couldn't break out. I pointed this out to the folks in the Slack group saying, hey, this looks like it's breaking the trend. Big volume on this drop, and unfortunately couldn't recover. And, it was looking good here. It actually started to edge out. It was a breakout there, paused, was looking like it wanted to go. But once you start to see that big reversal, losing the trend line, failed breakout, those are all kind of your typical sell signals. And so far, it's playing out that way. All right, let's go back to the Litecoin. So looking at Litecoin and then Bitcoin one more time, and I think we will call it a shorter stream here today. So looking at LTC here, still holding up okay. There's a little slight, and I'm saying slight, there's a little bit of a bearish divergence showing up here as it made this next leg up. The volume was good. MACD was pulling back. It could just keep going. As long as it holds up above 96 or so, it's going to be in play. Again, this is because of the halving. It's got a catalyst going for it. You could see a little bit of rally traders kind of moving it into that event. But then after that, I'm not so sure it holds up very well. So I'd be cautious. And the way I'm going to approach it, assuming it holds up above 96 or so, even maybe 94 at the most, but assuming that holds up, the way I'm going to approach is I'm just going to scale out along the way up. If it hits 105, I'll take some off there, move the stops up. If it continues to rally, I'll just kind of scale out on the way up into the targets, and will likely not hold any going into the event, unless it's just really strong, which I doubt, but that's going to be the way I'll approach it. BTC. We got Bitcoin. Big volume here at the top. I mean, it hit 10.5 almost to the penny here. What was the high on the candle? 10.497. And so nice little pop. If you're trading, things get extended. I'm a sell into strength kind of guy. Let things consolidate, maybe reload on the pullbacks. But that's my approach. If you're trading, of course, if you're doing a longer swing, 4-hour daily chart, maybe a little bit different approach. Even the 4-hour looks, it doesn't look too bad, but it is a little bit up here on the RSI. The daily has plenty of room to run, but this is a much wider range. It could easily pull right back to the upper 9Ks and be just fine on the daily chart. So it just depends on your strategy there. But that's going to be it today, my friends. Don't believe I have anything else in terms of names to look at. If we go to BTC and some of the key levels to be watching, if it can consolidate and hold up around 10K to 10.2, that's kind of your first support level. Above that, next target was around 10.6, and then 11K is kind of the big number. 10.9 is really where I think it would start to pause at. So that's going to be your next big target. I think if the momentum continues and we see that here in the next day or two, it's going to become very overbought in the very short term. And so I would expect that this really is going to be a significant resistance level. But hey, this is Bitcoin. Anything can happen. You can have a massive short squeeze or something and things just spike, or who knows. But we will see. One day at a time, as I like to take it. Trade safe. And as always, if you want to learn more. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, some of you guys have asked on Twitter about it. We are doing a new private group on the Slack channel. If you want to join the Slack group, generally, if you're a subscriber to the Node Insiders Alerts, or if you purchase the video course, you will get an invite to the group. But if you wanted to join the private channel where I kind of share a little bit more in terms of setups that I'm liking and trades that I'm looking at, we also do private live streams there once a week, which we will be kicking off again. That goes for, it's just a month-to-month thing. If you're interested, send me a message on Twitter, and I'll send you a link to where you can make the payment, and we'll go from there. Okay, guys. Hey, well, thanks for being here. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Some of you guys are kicking off your weekend. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care, everyone.